right, welcome back. Today we are jumping into a huge, huge question. It's one that has haunted leaders for centuries, from ancient pharaohs all the way to modern CEOs. Why do these incredibly powerful empires, these dynasties, these massive organizations, why do they always seem to fall? Well, let's dive in, because we're going to uncover this hidden, almost self-destructive flaw that's baked right into the nature of power itself.
You know, it really all boils down to this one simple but crucial question. What is the fatal flaw of power? Is it something that just happens to powerful people, like bad luck? Or is it something they actually do to themselves? As we're about to find out, the answer isn't some big mystery. It's actually a choice. It's a choice every single leader has to make.
And that choice, it really comes down to two totally opposite instincts. On one hand, you have power concentration. This is that urge to hoard what you've got, to control it, to protect it. And on the other hand, you have power creation. That's the drive to expand, to grow, to make more of it. Now, one of these sounds really safe, right? The other sounds kind of risky. But which one is the real path to lasting strength? Okay, so first, let's walk down the path that, let's be honest, most leaders are tempted to take: concentration. It just feels so logical, so safe. You're just conserving what you've worked so hard to build. But here's the thing. It is a complete illusion, and a really dangerous one at that. So, what is power concentration, really? Well, it's a strategy of protecting what you have by shutting people out. You limit who gets a piece of the pie, you shrink the inner circle, you keep all the secrets locked down. The goal, in your mind, is to conserve your power. But what you're actually doing is just making your entire world smaller and smaller. So you have to ask, why would anyone choose this path? Well, this strategy isn't born from confidence. No way. It comes from two really deep-seated weaknesses. First, a fear of competition. This feeling that you can't, or maybe just won't, compete out in the open. And second, it comes from a lack of knowledge. It's the move you make when you don't know how to create new power, so you just desperately cling to the old stuff. And this brings us to a really powerful and, kind of unsettling metaphor for this whole process: inbreeding. Think about it. Just like in genetics, when you keep everything inside a small, closed-off group, you might preserve a few specific traits in the short term, sure, but what you're really doing is setting the stage for total disaster down the road. And look, this isn't just a metaphor, it is historical fact. The geneticist C.D. Darlington pointed to the perfect, tragic example: the Habsburgs. They were one of the most powerful royal families in European history, and in their obsessive quest to concentrate that power, they turned to the most extreme inbreeding imaginable. And the result? They literally ruined themselves. They produced generations of rulers who were just plagued by genetic defects. What the Habsburgs show us is this predictable, step-by-step path to ruin. It starts with trying to conserve power. That inevitably shrinks your gene pool or your idea pool. That shrinkage leads to defects, whether it's in your genes, your strategy, or your ability to innovate. And those defects, eventually, lead to total ruin. It is the definition of a self-defeating strategy. So, if concentration is a dead end, what's the alternative? Well, it's the complete opposite approach. It's what we call the path of creation, and it is the true engine of expansion. You know, the whole foundation for this idea was laid out centuries ago by Francis Bacon when he said, "Knowledge is power." He got it. He understood that real power isn't some finite thing you can lock away in a vault. It's something that actually grows the more you create it and share it. Power creation, then, is the exact opposite of concentration. It's not about locking the gates and putting up walls. It's about throwing the gates wide open. It's about encouraging this cross-fertilization, this mixing of both ideas and, in the biological sense, of genes. And if the metaphor for concentration is inbreeding, well, then the metaphor for power creation is, you guessed it, outbreeding. It's all about mixing, diversifying, bringing in new blood, new perspectives. Why? To create something that is so much stronger and more resilient than what you had before. Darlington really hits the nail on the head with this pretty provocative idea. He says that the founders of great new dynasties, people like William the Conqueror or Augustus Caesar, they almost always come from the outside. They are the product of, in his words, outbreeding so decisive that they are bastards. They are not the pure, refined product of the old system. No, they're the disruptive start of something brand new. So what this means is that every leader,
Every empire, every organization stands at a crossroads. And the choice they make between these two paths, concentration or creation, is what will ultimately determine whether they find rejuvenation or ruin, especially when the world around them is constantly changing. And when you put these two paths side by side, the difference is it's stark. One path has a goal of control, its method is hoarding and inbreeding, and its result is always decay. The other path's goal is growth. Its method is sharing and outbreeding, and its result is restoration. Now, the choice seems obvious, right? But there's a dangerous trap hidden in there. And this brings us right to the final and most dangerous paradox of power. And it's this. The very strategy that built your empire in the first place can become the exact thing that brings it crashing down. Just think about this incredible piece of advice given to the son of Genghis Khan. The Mongols built the largest land empire in human history, from horseback. Their skill was legendary. But that very same skill, what Darlington calls their addiction to the horse, it became a massive liability when it was time to actually govern that empire. See, the skills that work for conquest just don't work for ruling.
And that really leaves us with a pretty pointed question for today, doesn't it? In our own companies, in our organizations, maybe even in our own lives. Are we clinging to old tactics? Are we still trying to win everything on horseback, completely unaware that the battlefield has already changed? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.